on a cloudy Saturday. Good to see you all turn up here with your stoles and whatever to keep you warm. My name is Mukta. I'm from the NSRCell team, and it's wonderful to have you all here for the storytelling for startups. We constantly do this in an endeavor to encourage and let the world know what NSRCell has to offer in terms of an ecosystem for the startup, community. While I will not go completely by the pitch, I also want to tell a story inspired by Vanita today. So all I'll say is, way back in 2002, we started off in a very small way with Mr. N.S. Raghavan's, little savings, and he wanted to help entrepreneurs to move on in the path of innovation and create more job opportunities. So that's how it all began. We've come a long way. We've tried different things. Some things have worked, some things didn't. What has really worked for us is the strength of the IIMB community and their backup. So our huge mentoring pool that we have, all of them are IIMB partners and alumni who come back to give back to the society in a way. And they have also gained expertise in different areas. It could be marketing, branding, strategies, storytelling, selling, everything that you would need when you begin a business. What is it that we have to offer? You want money, you want networks, you want people to support you, you want to speak to someone, please come and talk to us at NSRCell. So I'll just kind of, put the whole thing together and say, in the kind of impact that we've had is over 50,000 odd entrepreneurs over a period of time. We're still counting. We don't know how many more we have impacted in a very positive way. And they have been, just very recently, we've had about 200 odd startups graduate and move on across different programs. So we have the WSP program and programs in the social space, as well as for-profit, and the Launchpad program, which is a 3-month program. Basically, a quick dating period for people who want to figure out whether they're ready for the entrepreneurship stage or not, right? From then on, they get filtered and move on to other programs. So I'll just kind of put this all together and say that this is the kind of impact we've been creating. We've been working a lot with corporate as well as government partnerships. They're all here to support us in different ways. So the startup community can be a part of us in different ways, talk to the world outside about what they're doing. We have funds even for that specially, right? So in a nutshell, everything that a startup would require to come and implement right from the stage of an idea to get it into a business is what we have at NSRCell to offer to all of you. So please come and have a conversation with us. Log on to www.nsrcell.org and then take your journey forward. I would now like to give it over to Keshava, my colleague, to take it over and introduce Vanita. Vanita, pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I think at least many of you know my name, but my name is Keshav Reddy. I consult at NSRCell for the last decade plus. At the same time, I head sales and marketing at E2E Networks. Okay, so welcome to the storytelling for startups. First, quickly, can you switch off your mobiles? Okay, let me do mine. If not switching off, at least put it on the silent mode. I don't know how many of you heard about this quote. Okay, the most powerful person on the earth is a storyteller. Who said this? I think, yep. I don't have to tell anything. It's there very much actually. So it's a very, very important to tell the stories. I being myself as an entrepreneur, it's every stage you need to tell the story. Okay. So when you go and meet people, first thing they'll ask, what's your story? What are you doing? Okay. It has to be very convincing to either you have to tell the stories to the friends and fools. The fools who will invest in you, the friends, and as well as the family. Okay, whenever you come up with an idea, you need to go and tell them. Okay, first of all, you have to have them actually with you in your journey. Obviously, when you want to hire, you need to tell the story. When you are for the investors, you need to tell the story. And sometimes I wonder actually why that guy gets a lot of media attention, not me. Okay, that is also actually because that other guy can tell convincing stories. Okay, it's very, very, and you need to tell the stories to the strangers. You need to tell the stories to the customers. Please understand, stories doesn't mean lies. It's actually authentic, the way of telling where it will appeal to the people. Okay, and many more actually. That's what it. So what are the challenges? Many of us are. How many of you are engineers here? Wow, fantastic. So many of us are engineers, which is actually we only need A plus B into C equal to C. How do you write those equations? That's what we love. Okay, and how many of you are entrepreneurs? Okay, all of you need this session actually. Fantastic. So there are a lot of challenges. How do we solve these challenges? Okay, that's where actually we invited actually a Miss Vinita Johri. Can you just come on stage? So she will walk us through the all these phases with live examples. That's what actually. Before I go, I just want to leave the quick our coordinates of the NSRCIL. It's a world-class incubation center. Okay, with the deep knowledge in the entrepreneurship. Okay, so please, these are our coordinates. If you want to get in touch with us, please take it down. Anyway, actually, you guys met Mukta. She will be around. If you have any queries around, you can reach out to her. Yes, before I just go, special thanks to we have volunteers here, Hubert, Shiva and Samir. They are the one actually helping us. The outside who's taking care of the registration, Deepak and Muzamil, all these are volunteers. Thank you very much. Over to you, Vinita.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to be here, most of all for this absolutely beautiful weather, which I know that nobody here had anything to do with, but is fortunate to live in. I came from Delhi last night, and we are hot, sultry, and not nice at all. Right, so a pleasure on obviously this beautiful green campus. Delighted to see that there are so many people here on a Saturday morning despite the infamous Bangalore traffic. So appreciate your presence and good morning, and I hope that at the end of a couple of hours we will together be able to add some value to our morning. Yeah. Now, to introduce myself as a storyteller would be, I'm not sure that I qualify as a storyteller, only because I believe that each one of us is a storyteller, because we all have our unique stories, right? We just have to go out and we need to tell them. That's about it. So what obviously that, I'm going to start with something that is close to me, which is my own story. Yeah. It is not a very inspiring story at all. It is a very ordinary story because I grew up in a privileged home, did all things that parents wanted me to do. So really it's a fairly copybook Indian woman existence. Nothing really extraordinary to talk about. Nevertheless, there are two stories that actually stand up in my life, and I would like to share them with you. But before that, I'll take you through a flow of what you can expect in the next 2.5 hours. I think there is some break in between, so I would imagine a couple of hours, right? So all of us who are interested in storytelling would have read books that are available on storytelling, right? Storytelling for leaders, storytelling for success, storytelling for entrepreneurs, they're all available. So what am I going to do that's going to be new and unique? We can all read the books. And we've all heard enough TED Talks, right? Storyteller for this, storyteller for that. So I will I will value your time and mine by not taking you through any theory of storytelling, because it exists, and all we have to do is get onto TED and listen to it. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is short stories of mine, and then what we're going to do is that we are going to do storytelling for different startups right here on the stage. Yeah. So people from among you who are working with, who've set up their own startups, and they're struggling, or their biggest problem is to say, okay, so how do I pitch to the investor, which I know is the elephant in the room, right? Pitching to the investor. How do I talk to media? How do I just do public speaking? So we are going to do that on the stage. We will break it down, deconstruct it, and hopefully some of it will work. Again, I do not have answers for everything. I shall try with the people who will come on the stage with me. And at the end of which, I will open it to the house, and anybody who wants to come and share their story and would like us to thrash it out together, it would be my honor. Right? So this is going to be a very hands-on thing. As you can see, I have really no preparation. When I was asked, how do you prepare? My very simple take was, I don't. Yeah, it is the energy from the people that gets me going. So when there isn't any energy, then I really struggle. So please help me there. Yeah. So So we will start. Now I started my career many years ago in 1991 in Chennai. And I wasn't really qualified for anything in particular. So because language was always something that came very easily to me, I got a job in sales, right? A lot of us would have started our careers in sales, right? Hands up? Yep. Sales just accepts everybody in the beginning and then rejects people really fast. Yeah? Because you soon begin to realize, oh God, this is harder than it seems. Yeah? So my story, if I say, how did I start work? Well, I started as a salesperson. Big deal, that's not much of a story. But the story really comes from the fact that I was recently married. I had never lived the south of India. I was a North Indian girl, raised in Lucknow, and I was in Chennai in a job that needed me to navigate the streets of Chennai. This was 1991, so obviously no cell phone, and inability to understand or read any Tamil at all, and the infamous autowalas. How many of you here from Chennai? Okay, so no offense to anybody, but they gave me a very hard time. And they were delighted that I couldn't understand them at all. So it used to start with 2 rupees above meter and then really had no upper limit. So really, all that journey of navigating the geography of Chennai, figuring out the cultural differences, getting myself lost and then unlost and then lost again, is really the story of my sales. There were days when I felt really sorry for myself, because I'd reached Thiruvanmiyur, which is miles away from anywhere, where I needed to get to really just Annanagar, which was close to where my office was, at Mount Road. So all kinds of things happened, and I would find myself literally standing at the side of a road weeping. So it's a terrible story, right? But the good story is that I plodded along. And I managed to sell, and then I managed to sell some more. I was also helped by the simple fact that I was a North Indian girl in 1991 in Chennai trying to sell. It wasn't as common as you think it is now. Yeah? So a lot of doors opened for me out of maybe curiosity. And for those of us who are in sales here, we know that door opening is bigger than it seems. Yeah? It is huge. And that is how my sales journey started. And what I'd like to tell you is that it's a very simple story. But at the end of it, anybody, if they were to actually ask me that, okay, so what did you learn there? There's a lot that comes out of that story, right? I think just the fact that I stuck on for 3.5 hours gives a little bit of inkling that I had some grit. I did not give up, right? And that just comes out of my story without my having to say so. The fact that I plodded along, the fact that I obviously learned some Tamil so that I could get through. At the end of 3 years, I was yelling back at the autowalas with the same might and gusto that I saw local women do, right? Which also I think went in my favor. And very simply, that is my story of getting into work. Now, I worked as a sales professional for some years. And then I was in London because my husband was posted there. And I had always had a deep interest in psychology and in counseling, something that I had never been able to do for one reason or another. The reason that I wanted to study counseling is also thanks to a simple story. A lot of you may have heard it. How many of you, while growing up, had families that subscribed to the Reader's Digest? Lots of us, right? Yes. So I come from one such family where Reader's Digest was mandatory reading. My dad always insisted. And it was a far cry from the Reader's Digest that you see now. It's a bit of an apology now. Yeah, it's really doesn't do justice to the brand that I grew up with, at least. So I was in class 3 and my father had read this story to me, and that story is actually the reason why I do the work that I do. And if you'd bear with me for a minute, I'm going to share that story with you. So this is about, if you could visualize a beach, yeah, and the high tide had come in and it had brought with it millions of starfish. How many of you have heard this story? I can see lots of people nodding their heads. You have, right? It's a very powerful story. And I actually I tell myself that story ever so often. So for those of you who haven't heard it, millions of starfish had got washed onto the beach. And then after which the tide had receded. And these starfish were left out in the sun on the beach, obviously about to die. Right? Without water, they weren't going to survive. And there was an old man who was walking on the beach, actually picking up one starfish after another, and then he would walk all the way into the water and drop the starfish into the water. Now, obviously, it was a laborious task, and one wondered as to its the point, really. Yeah, and there were people who were sitting there saying, there are 1 million starfish there at a guess, and you're picking up 4 at a time and reaching them into the ocean. Who's it going to help? And his answer was, it helped that one. It's a very simple story. But for those of you who resonate with it, it is the reason why I chose to work in therapy, which is what I do. So starting out as a salesperson, I switched to counseling, therapy, and actually married it, if I may use that verb, with my passion for communication. And I now work as a therapist, counselor, and as a communication coach for a lot of corporates, where I work with people on presentation skills, but not presentation skills in the sense you stand straight and all of that, none of that, but on how to make yourself come across as somebody who can be approached as somebody who is human. Yeah, so that is what I do, and enough about me, and we will begin now. Yes? So a very simple take. I hope I know how to, okay, what did I do? I switched it off. Not very clever, right? Okay, got it. Thank you. Now, stories, we are all hardwired to remember stories, right? If our teachers had told us stories, all of us would have won the Nobel Prize. I certainly would have. But I have slept through my entire middle school years. I wish I hadn't. I regret it. I'm ashamed of it, but I did. I could not do maths the moment, as Keshava said, a square plus b square is equal to, what is it equal to? Is it equal to c square? I have no idea. Because I was sleeping through my algebra class. Yeah. Now, if only somebody had told us stories and got a buy-in into the system, I may have called myself educated, right? But I couldn't. But I remember with great detail all the stories that my grandmom, my mom, my dad told me. So, these are all stories of fantasy. Yes? From Aladdin to, Superman, they're all fantasy. Yet, repeatedly, as the box office figures show us, we run into theaters to catch them. And why do you think that is? Nobody believes them, right? We can't. We can't believe in the reality of Gotham. It doesn't exist, right? Or in Spider-Man or in Aladdin or any of it. So why do you think that we actually go in hordes into theaters to watch this? What is it that's appealing about this? Anybody?
To escape from reality.
To escape from reality, you think? Okay, what else? What else? Connecting to the past. Past meaning there's a past of...
When you're a child, it's
So connects with our past. Okay, anything else?
Into a fantasy world.
Getting into a fantasy world?
Unwind.
Thank you very much. Because deep down inside, we all believe in the story that the Ramayana told us, that the Mahabharata told us, that good is going to prevail over evil. It's been told in many different ways. All of these say the same thing. But at the end of the day, that's the story that we deeply resonate with. Right? And that is why storytelling is so powerful. Because from our myths down to every other story that we've ever read actually tells us the exact same thing. Okay. We all know who Greta Thunberg is. Yes, no, thank you? Yes, absolutely. Greta is the poster child of climate activism now, right? She's a 15-year-old girl, Swedish girl, who stands for, who's actually gone into the British Parliament, gone into the European Union, and has told, and has actually reprimanded world leaders by saying, if you don't wake up right now, it will be too late, right? What is Greta's story? How many of you know her story? It's an incredibly powerful story. She's a 15-year-old, well, now she's a 16-year-old girl, born in the Nordic country of Sweden, and she's an autistic child, right? What autism did to her was the simple fact that she could not make friends, right? So she spent days on end sitting in the classroom all by herself, eating lunch all by herself, and she was just always alone. And nobody ever made friends with her. So one day, when she said, okay, the world is going to come to an end, you know, climate crisis is real, and I want to do something about it, she got up and sat on the steps of the Swedish Parliament. Because she had no friends, nobody tried to stop her. And every single day, instead of going to school, she went and she sat on the steps of the, not the British Parliament, sorry, the Swedish Parliament, right? And she, day after day, she missed school and she sat there. She told her parents that she's not going to go to school. Till one day, one of the ministers who was walking up the steps said, you know, I see you here every day. Why do you not go to school? But if you look back at her story, what powered her to sit through there every single day, alone, doing nothing, was her story of autism, was a story of knowing what it was like to be alone, was knowing what it was like to have her own conviction and not wait for many people to follow her. Yeah? That was the recent past, last year. Soon, she's going to go down into the golden age, golden pages of history, because she is doing things that very few children have done till now, right? She just took that voyage on the Atlantic Ocean, which was a zero carbon voyage. Yes, she said, I refuse to sit on a plane. All of that came from years of practice of living by her own convictions, quietly, all by herself. And that is what is called owning our story and being able to gain from it. Now, storytelling, I did say that we will do no theory, but I will take 5 minutes and start with a very, very important word in storytelling. And that word actually is also the reason that I do the work that I do, which is a word that's thrown around a lot now, and that word is empathy. Right? All of us know what it means. Everybody knows its dictionary meaning. We just need to be able to apply it. It's a little bit harder than it seems, because as a culture and as a society, we're not necessarily trained to be empathetic. Am I right? Yes, no, thank you. Yeah, okay. We are actually good at being sympathetic. Yeah, we feel sorry. We help people. We do whatever we can for people if we can. But empathy is a completely different thing. Empathy means being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. As an entrepreneur, we must recognize and understand and really imbibe the fact and internalize the fact that, you know, we've obviously created something that's new, unique, it's obviously answering some need, but maybe we are in love with it because we created it, right? It is very, very hard to be objective about something that we've created with our own hands, right? It's like very hard to be objective about our children and our babies. I would imagine that for all those of you who have startups, I would imagine it is the same thing. Yeah, very hard to be objective. Yet, when we are thinking of a pitch, yes, how do we speak to somebody? Then the most important thing is to sit and think, okay, what is the other person feeling, right? So which actually means, and you know, you can try this, actually, you know, sit at one end of a table and get up from there. Leave your avatar sitting where it was. Get up and go to the other side and sit there physically and then ask yourself, okay, what am I actually listening? So that word empathy is very important. The moment you have empathy for your listener, you will be able to kind of chisel your pitch differently, right? Now, one very useful trick, if you will, of creating a pitch is actually to start with a memory and to end with a promise, right? How many of you resonate with this line? Yes? Yes, you've got to juggle a memory. You've just got to juggle a memory because and it needs to be your own story. But please understand, all our stories are human stories. People they're bound to resonate with them. It is just that the way we all live, we only know our own lives, right? And we know lives of people via their social media accounts, yeah? Which all of us have lived life, I think, long enough to know that that's not necessarily even you know, a somewhat worthwhile peep into their lives, right? We all know that that really doesn't hold. We don't know what the other person is thinking, yeah? But memories are memories. Follow something which is called a narrative arc. How many of you have heard of that phrase? A narrative arc. You have? Yes, wonderful. Do you know what it is? Yeah. Yeah, do you want to talk about it?
Pretty much the same, like what happens is across all myths and mythology, there's just one narrative arc, there's a beginning, middle, and end. So the character.
Can we give him a mic, please? Yeah? Just one moment. What is your name?
Shivram.
Shivram, thank you very much. And like Shivram, if I could get everybody else to speak, it would be great. Yes? Because at the end of the day, stories are stories. Anybody's story is going to resonate with everybody else, and they don't have to be mine alone. Yeah?
I think I'm
Yes,
audible
please.
now.
Yeah, yes, you are.
So it's pretty basic. Like every good story has a beginning, middle, and end. If you take across all myths, whether it is Ramayana or Icarus' story, every single character has a beginning where very humble beginnings. Then they're met with a challenge. That's where they're at the middle. And the overcoming part, that is, they're rising to the challenge and defeating and learning something new about themselves. That's the end. So that's the narrative arc. You come to a complete circle and you end up, the character is the same, but their understanding of who they are and who they could be changes a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shivram. Yes. A very useful word in the narrative arc is what are trials and tribulations, right? There isn't a story without trials and tribulations. Yes? I had a problem. How many of you saw that film, MS Dhoni? Did anybody see it? Yeah. I don't know what you thought of it, and you know, I'm nobody to completely dismiss it, but that movie just, the arc went like this, right? He seemed to be on a perpetual high. And I came out wondering that, okay, how could this be? You know, there is some stuff that was edited out where he would have failed. He had to. Every single person has. So a narrative arc really is, you begin with something, you've got an idea, and then starts the trials and the tribulations of that particular journey. And you know what? Owning them is great. Talking about them, even better. Because that's when people really resonate with you. They don't resonate with your stories of success, because not everybody succeeds, because again, the definition of success is different for different people. Yeah? So if I'm standing here and talking to all of you right now, I think I'm really successful. Yeah, I have so many people's attention, but I'm not sure that that applies to every single person, right? So to come back to the fact, trials and tribulations, very important, yeah? We'll have a high and then a low again. And please acknowledge these highs and acknowledge these lows. Very, very important. Also very important in the narrative arc is to not flatter yourself too much. Yes, go easy on yourself. Be proud of yourself, that's very important, but we never need to get into the stage where we are flattering ourselves, because that is the most off-putting thing in the world, right? And then so on and so forth, and as Shivram beautifully explained, that is how the narrative arc works. So start with a memory and end with a promise, which is the reason that you've got your startup itself, right? Now, well-designed stories, and I promise you this is the only slide which has some text on it, okay? The single one. So please bear with me on this. After this, every single slide is just a picture, okay? So the most effective, it is the most effective vehicle for exerting influence. Yes, in fact, they've done a lot of research where they've, on the same group of people, they've passed on information through a story, then story and statistics, then statistics and graphs. And whatever you do, ultimately, retention and absorption is maximum only when it is a story, right? So it should, as I said, don't flatter yourself, should show human conflicts. And most of all, the last one, it is not an anecdote. Yeah? Anecdotal stories are meant to be focused on if you were a stand-up comedian. It works beautifully. Anecdotes are fantastic, and those are really brilliant storytellers. They're the best storytellers there are. In fact, I think a lot of us now consume news through the comedy guys, right? Yes, how many of you hear John Oliver and Trevor Noah and all of these guys, right? Yeah. So it's a very powerful way of storytelling. Nevertheless, we cannot focus on the anecdotes. We have to flesh out the two ends of the anecdote, which are likely to be anchored in stories of struggle, of failure, yes, of questioning yourself, of wanting to give up. And the beautiful story of then, so why did you not give up? I always ask, then what happened? What made you, why are you here? And isn't that the best story in the world? Right? And the last thing, accept your story. Yeah? I've had people who actually say that, I'm not great at communication. It starts with that. And I'm like, you know what? You don't need to be. Everybody doesn't need to be great at everything. It's not possible. You just be great at what you're doing. Whatever solution you've got, be good at that. Carry that with pride. Own yourself. Yes? As a counselor, as a therapist, I work with individuals where I tell them, sit down, write down what is it that works for you. What are your strengths? What is it that holds you back? And accept all of that in toto. Once you've done that, whatever your story you tell is going to come from a place of great authenticity. It's going to come from a place of value. And you're not going to be so scared. Right? So accept yourself. The first thing I tell everybody is how badly I did in maths my whole life. Yes? And I am standing here in an IIM auditorium, which is something that I had never thought would happen to me, because believe it or not, I did write the CAT exam. And when I looked at it and I said, okay, what do? I don't know maths enough to be able to pass this, but let me just mark C on everything. There will be some C's. So that was my attempt at CAT. Needless to say, I did not get through. And because I was terrible at maths, I couldn't have. Unfortunately, the English was also very hard for me, which I thought I was a master at. So it was a massive jolt. So I did the next best thing, which was I married somebody who passed from an IIM. Now, as it happens, I also went a step further where I insisted that the IIM grad needed to have also come from IIT. So I succeeded. Yes, now I've been married 30 years, so I don't know what to say. It doesn't seem like anything anymore. But it was many, many years of actually carrying this on my shoulder, saying, but I thought I was smart, but not enough. But the point is, because I can carry it now, and I have no shame in talking about it, it's all right, right? So please work on your personal narratives, carry them well. It will make your storytelling that much more authentic. Yeah, don't try to be anybody you're not. Don't try to spin stories. Spinning stories, A, doesn't work. B, I'm not sure that NSR Cell supports that either. Yeah, so am I right? Yes, so don't spin stories. We're going to have to leave it for people who are masters at it, in which case you need to get into, sort of different creative fields. Yeah, so that's where we are. As I said, that's it. No more about me. We are going to, Keshav, I've stuck to time. Yes? So we are going to now actually talk to entrepreneurs who are sitting here and have them tell us their stories, and then see if there's any way for us to actually spin them into stories that are going to be consumed well by the people who they're intended for. Right? So let's do investors later, I think. 1 sec. Yes. Can we do public speaking? Yes. So what happens in a startup is that, we've obviously got an idea. Maybe we identified a gap and then got the idea, or we got the idea and we can't figure what the gap is, so we are trying to plug it somewhere. And then we've made its features. And then we've made its technology, right? An overwhelming number of engineers here, right? Yes? How many engineers, sorry? Fantastic. So there you are. Now, and we are engineers and we are in love with the solution that we've created. We are convinced it's going to change the world. We are convinced it's going to be the next Uber, the next Google, the next whatever. Yes? And each one of us is going to make the new Uber. Right? And therefore, we have completely no objectivity about what we've created. Not just that, it goes a step further, where if somebody asks us, so what are you doing? It is our reason and an occasion to actually talk about the features. Am I right? To tell anybody who wants to listen how it's going to change the world. But they didn't ask you that. Right? So we've first got to hear the questions. Right? So being able to talk to strangers, to people, what we like to call public speaking, if it were, let's actually get one person in. And we've rigged it a little bit because we've identified who we are going to do this with. So I'm going to call on stage Shashank. Shashank Shekhar runs a startup which has, please come up, a very interesting name, and that's going to be my very first question. Please come. Incidentally, when I was talking to Shashank, I realized he's exactly as old as my son. So he runs the risk of getting whacked by me. Yeah, please come, please come. Yeah, his startup is called Stoned Santa. Please explain yourself. Anything that has stoned in it needs explanation. Please explain yourself.
Thank you so much for the introduction and the opportunity to be here.
My pleasure.
Stoned Santa because Santa is known for gifting and bringing joy. And my company is about creating personalized handmade art to create experiences through personalized gifting. And stoned because, memories etched on stone is forever. And through our art, we are looking to create lifelong memories which can be presented through handmade art or artifacts. So yeah, that's what Stoned Santa is. And I think that's what I told my dad also.
Lovely. So does it, So did the way, I mean, stoned is understood differently, right?
Yeah.
So did that play ever affect you? Did you think about the wordplay on the word stoned?
Actually, I did given in some thought before deciding upon the name, but then I realized it is a quirky name which can create recall. It's easy for people to remember because they are able to relate to the word stoned and Santa differently. So combining these two elements, I thought it would create perfect recall, and hence I decided to go for it.
Absolutely, you got that right. That absolutely perfect recall, I think, describes it well. Now, what made you start this?
So tracing back my memories, my parents, they sent me to a boarding school while I was very young. KG to class 3, I was in Darjeeling, a missionary school. And I used to miss them a lot. So I remember sending them handwritten letters complaining that, hey, my teeth is paining, please get me back home. But I remember the joy they had when they used to read my letters and feel that I'm safe. And then I remember creating personalized handmade greeting cards for their anniversaries. And then engineering happened. I was completely off all of this. And one fine day, while I was thinking of gifting ideas for my parents' 25th anniversary, I guess that's when my eureka moment came. So I believe all of this has been essentially just connecting dots, and that's why it started off.
Okay, and at what stage are you at in your entrepreneurial journey?
So it's been almost 2 years since I've taken this full time, and I think we've served around 5,000 customers. And we are currently bootstrapped. That means we've not raised external funding. All we've used is customer money to grow more and more. And as of now, we work with around 150 artists across India, and there are some foreign artists too. So that's where we are at right now.
That's where you are. Okay. And where do you think you're going to go in the next 2, 3, 4 years? I'm not Shark Tank.
Right.
I'm just asking. Just asking. Yeah, so where would you go in the next 2, 3, 4 years?
So over the time in my experience of building Stone Santa, I've realized that, hey, personalized gifting is good. And I always had this thought that, hey, we are an art-based company. But interacting with customers and potential artists, we realized that, hey, we are more about a gifting company. So the idea over the next 2 to 3 years would be filling gaps and voids wherein we could use and offer our services to create better experiences with gifting, because we buy gifts for our special someone. So why buy something that has been manufactured in bulk for almost a set of audience? So that's where we'd like to fill the gap with.
Okay, so that is absolutely lovely. Do you have a partner? Do you do this alone?
Like as of now, I am the only founder, but I am actively looking for people who would be willing to build Stone Santa alongside and add value.
Looking
to
for
the
collaborators?
co-founders and good people to work with, because a great idea requires a great team to build something out.
Perfect lines, absolutely. Great idea requires a great team. Lovely. Been said too many times, so don't say it. Right? Try and say it differently, get a story into it. Now, when you're talking to an audience that does not know your product, right? And I have been speaking to Shashank over the last couple of days. What I suggested to him was actually, I mean, how many of you actually got what Shashank does? And what do you think is what stands out in his story? What does he do? Personalized gifting. Sorry?
Yes.
Etching memories. Beautiful. Personalized gifting. Yes? Where did that come from, but? You said your parents' 25th anniversary, and you wanted to give them a personalized gift, which could have been anything. It could have been a photo frame, personalized. It could have been a towel set with their names on it, right? It could have been anything. Why this?
I'm not really sure, but when I've sat and thought about it, I realized I have been creating handmade greeting cards for them for a couple of years.
And that was the eureka moment when you and I were speaking on the phone, right?
Yes.
Yes. So please talk about that.
Change
your pitch. Yes, change your story now. This is your moment. Yes.
I think it's a series of events in my life which eventually helped me come up with something like this. When I was small, money was not something I was bothered about. So I used to buy chart papers, do something here and there, and create cards for my parents. And I used to feel that happiness that I saw when I presented it to them. And then engineering happened. I completely forgot about all of this, and I had some stints of working on some projects, which I could say my early entrepreneurial ventures. And then ultimately I saw a connection, and that is when the idea came to me. So I think it's a series of dots connecting, and I strongly feel there is some external spiritual energy forcing me to do this. So as ma'am mentioned, there are times when you're, completely...
Can I get in?
Yes.
Spiritual energies do not force, they evoke.
Okay. All right.
They can't force us.
Right.
Yes. Sorry? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, as ma'am mentioned, there are times when you completely are lost. You feel that you're doing nothing. And such was a time almost a month back. I was down with dengue and thoughts of quitting everything, going back home, doing nothing at all. But thanks to dengue and the falling platelet count along with motivation, I had time to introspect, think. And that's when my mother told me something that, hey, what happens if you fail? Nothing. And kind of those words kind of propelled me to not give up and give another try. She told me, how old you are? I said 24, although I look like 30. But she said, you have good enough time. You can play around with another 2 years. And my dad pitched in. He said, I've spent 4 years of your time in engineering. You've spent a lot of money. Why not spend another 4 years learning and working and learning from the streets by doing things and not just following a set of rules and procedures to get things done. So I think, that's what has been for me right now.
Beautiful. All my suggestion on this was to join the dots, to go deeper and join the dots. And to say that, as parents, and I'm right now as a parent, and I remember when I was growing up as well, what do we cherish most as gifts? They are always the cards that our children make for us, or as teachers that students make for us, not the brownies that they buy on their way, not the flowers that their parents buy and send it to us as teachers. So it is these beautiful handmade memories which our moms and our dads actually keep, and they keep them safe. And when you're 30 and you're going through your mother's things and you suddenly see this card that you made at 6 and 7 and oh my God, there's a gush of memories that'll come out at you, right? And that is the power of what a handmade created gift really is. And that is the power of storytelling, right? All you have to do is juggle that memory. There's not a single person in the world who has not experienced either making a card or receiving one. Am I right? Is there anybody like that? We've all got it, and those are our most treasured memories, are they not? So to actually then take that memory forward and then to try and commercialize it, which is what you do, and in that also get, some artists, work, that being your natural byproduct, I think makes your idea extremely powerful. Am I right? Does it resonate with a lot of you here? Yes? Yes? No? Okay. Normally I say yes, no, Baba Black Sheep. And then that really confuses people saying, where did that come from? So I've stopped saying that. Yes? So Shashank, is that something that you'd be able to work with? This particular story,
Right.
that you take it deep, take it to memory, take it to children's cards, and then say that you are trying to create the same thing a little bit differently where you're personalizing the gift.
Correct.
Yes? Where you've got, what is it that you really have? You have artists on one side and you have?
Potential clients and customers who are willing to buy from us.
And the artists then actually sketch.
Create. I mean, there are different offerings that we have. If we get a good photo, we can always sketch it out, and we'll probably be able to not tell the difference between the picture and the handmade portrait. So that is one of the offerings that we have.
Yeah. Oh. Absolutely right. Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Well said. So, best wishes, Shashank.
Yes.
Good luck.
Okay, thank
This
you.
is, it's beautiful. Practice your story. Go deeper as much as possible. And then the more that, it needs to come from the heart. When stories don't come from the heart, then they really just bounce off. Yeah? So the deeper memory that you can actually elicit from within yourself, better the reaction you will evoke from the person, right? So memory is being beautiful. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
a lot and good luck. Thank you. Okay, where did I put that? Yes. Okay, our next story, let's look at an entrepreneur who wants to hire people, basically looking for collaboration. Yes, is Rajshri here? Yes, Rajshri, please come. Yeah, so I'm going to ask, please come. Hi. You can take that mic, please. Yes. So, Rajshri, please tell us what is it that you do?
Good morning, all of you.
Hi.
Thank you, Vinita, for
Hi.
this opportunity.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm Rajashri, and I have a theatre company called You and Me Theatre. We do performing arts, and we try and see how best we can relate everyone to the kind of art we do, to the kind of performances we do.
Right. And what is the name of your company?
You and Me Theatre.
You and Me Theatre.
Yeah.
Okay. Please tell us your personal story of how it started, because really theatre is just seen as something that we do as a hobby. Am I right? Yes? Unless you're Girish Karnan. Yeah? Then you did it for far more worthy reasons. But most of the time, yeah? So please tell us how you did it.
Very true. I completely agree with you. I have faced a similar challenge all through my life when people just thought theatre is a hobby or a pastime or something that you do when you're free, when you're not doing your prime occupation. So when I tell people that I do theatre, they ask me, okay, what is the main thing you do? I do theatre. Okay, what else do you do? So people cannot really accept the fact that theatre is the center to what I do basically. So yeah, coming to the story, I started off doing theatre. I'm not from a theatre background at all. My family didn't do theatre. I just started off doing theatre through a workshop when I was 15 years old and never looked back. So theatre kind of was there all through my life from the time I was 15 till now. I'm 39 now. So theatre never left me, or rather I didn't leave theatre. But I continued doing my education. I did my bachelor's, my master's, and my PhD in mass communication. But I continued theatre alongside as well. But all through my life, I kept having these kind of conflicts, these kind of arguments, these kind of issues with people accepting the fact that I do theatre so importantly in my life. Even though I had exams, I would go for rehearsals. Even though I had an interview, I would go for rehearsals. I never missed doing theatre. So I was always bombarded with these questions saying, why is it so important for you? Why is it a priority for you, though it's just a hobby? I initially didn't really know why I was giving it so much importance, but I could not kind of stay away from it. Even when my daughter was born, I did take a break for 2 or 3 years, but then I had to go back. You know, theatre kind of beckoned and I had to go back. So it was never a possibility vaguely in my mind to even stay away from theatre. But later on, as I kept thinking as to what is there in theatre, what is it that draws me towards it, what is it that kind of makes me give it that much priority over everything else, I then started realizing that not just theatre, I'm a dancer as well. I do Bharatnatyam. So basically the arts, the performing arts, was somehow giving me a sense of peace, a sense of balance in the kind of, in the way I saw the world around me, in the way I managed my emotions, in the way I spoke to people. So these are things that are not directly taught to you in the arts, but over a period of time, looking back, I figured the arts was giving me a lot of emotional stability, a lot of emotional strength deep inside me to handle a lot of... Thank you.
Beautiful, isn't it? Yes.
To handle the various conflicts that all of us face. I too had a lot of conflicts, a lot of issues, but somehow the arts kept, holding my back and saying, I'm there, you can go ahead and handle it. So I could deal with a lot of issues way easily than a lot of my colleagues could, a lot of my friends could. I did not know this till very recently when we started off this company and we started really thinking about what really can theatre do, what really can the performing arts do, how can we really connect that to people. I and my co-founder Sharath, so we brainstormed, we spoke, and then it was very, very introspective to then realize that arts is what given me this kind of strength to be able to do so much.
Lovely, beautiful. Now, tell me, Rajshri, of course, you know, I think your passion for theatre is very clear. Yeah? How have you entered the world of startup through theatre? I think a lot of us are, that's the question on our minds. Am I right? Yes, please.
Yes, again, when people didn't even accept the fact that I could do theatre over taking up a job, starting a business in theatre was something that, you know, people wouldn't even imagine. But yes, we are theatre people. We do think of the most unconventional stuff, and yes, we had to. But the biggest motivating factor for us to, I wouldn't really want to call it a business because it sounds very commercial to us. I would want to say this was the best way for us to reach out to as many people as possible. Best way to find tools to make sure theatre can make a difference to as many people as possible. I got to know stuff like sales and marketing. These were terms that, you know, didn't mean anything to we as theatre people. Or I did mass communication and journalism. So marketing and sales and pitching and business plan and these things were not even there in my mind. But in our struggle, most of the theatre teams, most of the dance teams which exist today have this major issue that they cannot reach out to people. They cannot get as many audience as they really want to. They create amazing pieces of art. They create amazing pieces of stories to communicate. But unfortunately, there are not many people who are there to receive it. So the biggest challenge was to make sure we make it as relevant as possible to people so they can come and see what we're doing, come and connect to what we're doing. And the tools that business gave is what I probably was looking at. So I feel a lot more equipped now to do what we intend to do through business. Yeah. So that was the intention.
Beautiful. And as a true artist, you know, most artists look at the word commercial as like a negative word. You know, the truth of the matter is that it is commerce that makes things sustainable.
Reality is that.
That is the reality. When there isn't commerce, you know, it whimpers and struggles to survive. Yeah. So actually the first thing that artists also need to do is come to terms with the fact that commerce is actually a good word. Right? It's a good word to accept and to wear on our person and to expect people to pay for the art.
Why there is like a gap here is because people believe if you're doing it for money, you're compromising on the quality of art. So that is a misconception. I completely agree. The quality of art need not be compromised just because you are catering to an audience. You can make it very communicable, though you're doing it for money. But yes, a lot of people think you're playing to the gallery would mean you're losing out on the real artistic part of it. But I completely agree.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually come into this in two ways. The first way is really, you know, of my training as a therapist, where I will tell you that first thing that the artist, whether a singer, a theatre person, whoever, has to first wear is the sense of pride that I will demand for what I do, which every other profession does, right? But because, you know, artists don't, so they don't. You know, so the change will have to come from the way the art is worn by the artists. Bollywood has gone over it completely, right? And all other film industries in the country, the world over, where they think it's okay for people to pay for whatever it is that they do. But the other art forms are still struggling. Yeah. So the first thing will be to wear it. Now, as regards your story, which you would, you know, have to make for hiring, that was the specific issue that Rajshri was talking about, which is really you're looking for collaboration, you're looking for people to come and join you. Now that also has like it's a two-pronged thing. One is that person who you hire has to have that same fire burning in them. right? Because it is impossible for you to actually ignite that fire in that person. Now, they've got to have it at some level, even if it's a little spark, and you can then, help grow it, but it's got to be there. So you have to identify that person through your story. You also don't want to bowl over somebody so beautifully with your story that you do a terrible hiring. Right? That the person is so excited that they come on, and then 3 months later, like, you realize they just don't have it in them to stay with you. So what you need is somebody who feels it sufficiently to stay, right? So to that person, my recommendation for your storytelling would really be the fact that, you know what, any expression, any creative expression does, you know, and theatre being its prime example, is that it gives you this incredible ability, it gives you depth and this incredible ability to hold yourself together. You know, when I was speaking with Rajshri day before yesterday, and I'm going to repeat the sentence that I said to her the other day, which was very simply that, you know, how many engineers have you known who are willing to go on an empty stomach for 2 years because they're passionate about engineering? Yep. Sorry? But artists do. Right? So there is something about artists, and I'm not an artist, and I just marvel at that there is something about artists, whether they are theatre or singers or painters or whosoever they may be, that it gives them this incredible power to hold on to their convictions, to say, I'm going to just do this and nothing more. When you read stories of people like, I know more about the Hindi film industry, but I'm sure there are parallels in all, you know, regional industries as well. You know, people like Piyush Mishra in Bollywood, I don't know if how many of you have heard of him. You know, he's a poet, he is extremely articulate, and for years together, he was just, or Rajkumar Rao, or even Nawazuddin Siddiqui, who's now a, you know, well-known person, how for years they just held on to their conviction. Right? And these were bright people. They would have, I'm sure, got other jobs. I cannot believe that they wouldn't have. But there is something about the pull of that conviction, right, which you're able to see through. And I feel that when you're hiring, when you're looking for collaborators, if that is your story, and if the other person resonates with that, only then would the collaboration
Also, another point is, I think most of us have art within us. I'm sure there is a quote going on in the social media which says, babies sing first before they can talk. They draw first before they learn words. So it is somehow inherently there within all of us. And just that our society doesn't let us develop it. Like I was told all the time that theatre is a hobby. Most of us, I think, are told that keep that to do when you're free and try and find some payable occupation that can sustain you and then find. So would it be possible for me to go back to that point and say you are an artist somehow inherently, and that could connect them?
Absolutely, you can. You can say we are all artists inherently, but also, you know, we cannot be entirely dismissive about the fact that our society tells us that you do this in your spare time. Because the answer for that also is within our own culture, right? We are not a financially secure society. We need to earn money to keep our body and soul together, right? And the truth of the matter is that artists, you know, it is said that that their gestation periods are much, much longer than for any other professions, right? So, but if you do say it and the person resonates with you, then that's the person, then that's how collaboration will happen.
But I would really beg to differ on the gestation period as well. If it's really planned and strategized, I think my co-founders here, we beg to differ, because we are doing pretty well in theatre. We have grown significantly from the time we started. It's just that we see theatre very differently now as we saw before. It's just not performing for an audience. We see it very differently. We see how we can apply it to people. We see how we can connect, bring in more people into theatre. So I think the way we approach it
is the most important thing. And the fact that, you know, you can also talk about it as working as a positive agent for mental health.
Right.
You know, I think that is the most powerful thing that theatre can do, because it works as, and you know, we are sitting in what is called, you know, almost like this It's like a time machine that's waiting to sort of go on us in terms of mental health. So the positive role that theatre can play in that has still not been, even the surface has not been scratched. So when you're hiring, I think if people resonate with this story, then I think you will have somebody who will stay with you for long periods of time.
With the fact that this profession, this job will give you way more emotional stability than compared to the stress that the other jobs might give you instead.
Absolutely. Yes. Right? Does that story work? Yes? Thank you very much, Archie. That was lovely. And good luck, and we all hope to be a part of You and Me Theatre. And also, I would recommend that you work on the play on You and Me as well. You and Me is very powerful. So when you're looking for somebody to collaborate with or hire, then use the play on You and Me, because you've got it right there. So it's the You and Me that's going to together give you the whole. So I think that makes for a very important story.
Thank you so much.
Right? So my pleasure. Yes, please. Not, sorry, who has? Okay, you have experience with that? Oh, no, I don't. But still, go ahead. Yes. I've hired a lot of bankers, not software engineers. Yes. Okay. Okay.
So, can you share with us some personal story, probably when you are hiring a banker to, let's say, a startup bank or a tier 3 level banking, where they qualify very easily for a McKinsey job? Is there any story that you can share with us?
See, again, I think I'll go back a little bit, half an hour back, and repeat what I said, which is that stories are deeply personal, right? So what worked for somebody, the exact same thing may not work for the next person, right? No. Hope, in fact, my take on it is completely, I view it very differently. I view it as it worked for that person, and you are not likely to be able to learn much from that person's story, because it is that person's story, right? And us being able to wear our stories ourselves is what is going to work. So in fact, the important thing and the work that I think that I do and I enjoy is to sit with people and help draw out their stories. So what would be your story, uniquely yours? How it would actually connect, if it were, with, obviously McKinsey is something that you're thinking of, because that's the name that came, right? Yeah. So you're talking of the consulting firm. Yeah, okay. So whether it will or it won't has to actually come as a story thread which flows in a very, which actually flows clearly. Not that you do this because that one did and you do this because that one did, and somehow make yourself fit for the role that McKinsey wants. I'm not a huge fan of that. I am a fan of the fact that you wear it, you wear yourself. And if that fits with McKinsey, then that's where you should be working. So I've actually turned it around on its head, quite contrary to what you asked me. I did, right? Yes, because I genuinely believe that it is your own stories, your stories of truth, your stories of authenticity that will actually help you shine rather than be one more cog in the wheel, which is what you will end up being if you've actually tried to just make yourself into somebody else, because that's how we do. We've got this whole cookie cutter approach to education in any case. Yeah, and particularly, when you look at the Ivy admissions and all of that, I don't know how many of you are parents here who have children who are old enough for that. Oh my God, where you need to do this and you need to do social service and you need to do 10 different things and then you qualify for admission. Now my take is, if all of these children the world over were indeed doing all this beautiful social service, our world would physically look different. But it doesn't. It continues to look as abject as it ever did. So clearly these are all tall tales. I'm not a fan of tall tales because I believe that tall tales will only get you so far and no more. So wear your person, see where your person is going to go, and as an entrepreneur more than ever, because that is really what is going to be able to separate, because that is your uniqueness. Your uniqueness is only in your narrative. It is not in how beautifully you were able to become like X. Sorry, did I dishearten you completely? I am so sorry. But, I've been able to see that with my own life. As I told you, I mean, my experience with CAT was dismal. It was abysmal. What else can I say? After which, and I had told myself, either I was studying IIM or no MBA. So clearly no MBA was my way. Yeah, because I couldn't do it. It was just not me. And then as, my life went on, my profession came to me. It came to me, it happened to me. And I feel a little bit of pride when people ask me that, somebody from Bombay or somebody from other cities, because I'm based in Delhi, that, can you recommend somebody here locally who does your work? And I tell them very pompously, I'm sorry, nobody does what I do. Which is also not true, but it is my way of wearing my own uniqueness. Right? So that is the way it is. So if you could do that, I think that would really work well. Yes? And one more thing I'd like to say that, our journeys are not linear. They're really not. Because if they were linear, then your story would be the same as yours and same as yours, which is you are born and then you study and then you get married and then you have children and then you die. That's the story that each one of us has. But what makes our stories interesting are the side roads. Right? The stoppages, metaphorically speaking. The times that you've really got to stop and think. Times when you run out of water. Times when oxygen is scarce. Times when relationships begin to challenge you. And I feel that all of these stories, once worn well, are what will make personal stories that will convince the other person of what you are attempting to do. Because in a startup, you are still attempting to do it. Right? And hopefully, yours will be the startup that people will talk about. Unicorn, right? That's what we speak of. So why not? Yes? We need to have a break now, is it? Sure. Okay, great. So I think we've got a break for some. Sure. Yes.
Hi, good morning. So my question is, as I was hearing through, right? It's my hypothesis. I feel that, when you're talking to a stranger, a personal story appeals and, it gets you there, right? But when I'm talking about hiring, do you think a story of the organization will make more sense than personal story of mine?
Can I answer that question?
Yeah, sure.
With a lot of startups, isn't the personal story and the company story the same?
It is. It is. Definitely it is.
Yeah.
But then would that appeal more than, why you came into existence as a company for a hiring, for somebody who's looking at, or you're trying to recruit, right?
Yeah.
So if you're trying to do that, would that make more sense or it doesn't matter?
See, my take is actually, obviously I don't know the answers, everything is, up in the air and one can try. But my take really would be that the important thing is to find the person who has as much passion as you. You don't want to also hire the first person who says yes, because that's a very expensive mistake. So you've got to actually spend some time and energy in identifying that fire. So for that, I think that story would really help.
Perfect.
I don't know. Did that make sense?
Totally convinced.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I am.
More power to me then. Thank you. Right? So we'll take a break. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's especially the first 10 hirings. I think Namit actually had you. It's more about the personal thing. Okay, it's like you as Dr. Rajeshree's this thing. You need to resonate. You have to tell the story in a way that actually other person resonates with you, so that he can join you. So before we just break for the sorry, you have questions? We will take the questions later. Yeah, so quickly what we found actually in NSRSL research, actually other things, sales is the biggest, issue in any of the startup. How many of you agree that sales is what? Good. So the rest of the people, the sales is going good, it means. Okay. So, but what we found is actually sales is the one actually. So what we had brought together is where with the Dr. Rajeshri, she's our women startup entrepreneur actually. With her on the board, we are putting together actually sales theater for workshop. That's the thing. Okay. The quickly, what are the things the theater will teaches you? First thing is actually it's a body language. So most of the time when you go out, actually you say that, hey, pitch your story and everything. We will just do this and vomit. That's what the sales guys do. But actually your body as well as what your mouth should speak the same language. So that's a body language. The next is the voice modulations. Okay, so it is very important what word you need to stress on. Actually, that's very important. So this then as a sales guy, it's very important. More than the talking, you need to listen. Okay, especially subtext. Okay, and then actually emotion. That's what when you're selling, it's you need to be especially when you're hiring. Also, that's a emotion comes in the picture. So that how do you bring the emotion in your pitches actually? The obviously self-discipline and characterization. You need to go into the specific characterization and everything. These are the things which is actually the theater teaches you. Okay, right pitch matters, but pitching right is equally matters. Okay, so with that actually the sales is an art which is we are going to do. It's on a September 19th, which is on a Thursday. Okay. So this will be again done in a role play, then actually there is an activity, then the role play, then debriefing. That's a model actually Dr. Rajshri and her team put together. So please register and come. With that actually we will break for a tea break and we will be back here at exactly at 12 o'clock. Okay, so there at the other side of the break, we will go through the how do you pitch to the customer and how do you pitch to the media and all those things. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so before we start actually, so as I said actually we have a sales theater workshop on Thursday, September 19th. Actually Naveen will be sending you the registration. So in between I would like to call Mr. Surja. He wrote some as part of the storytelling, even the poetry is a storytelling. So he wrote a small poetry around the entrepreneurship. So I would like to invite Surja to actually. Yep.
Hi, good afternoon to all of you. This is not my story, this is your story actually. And the medium is a small poem in the form of a poem. And sorry, I have written it, but I don't remember it, so I have to look at my blog. It's called An Ode to Entrepreneurs. It never was meant to be a bed of roses when you settled your dilemma to be or not to be and chose to traverse the long and lonely road less traveled, where more often than not, failure and despair are the only company. Defying the crowd, you drifted from the Milky Way, where stars glitter, cheer, and celebrate success, to revel somewhere afar in the carnival that defies gravity and climb the dizzy heights of insanity. Over a mountain of mystics, sense glory. Riding the carousels, you embraced an ocean of thorns, while playing hide and seek, an existence filled with risk, psychological, social, and financial, striving to market your innovation and make it commercial. You hide and ignore your pain to satisfy the masses in their bargain. You are precious, unique, and special. Ideation, prototyping, and testing, your passion lies in problem solving. When ordinary mortals crib and complain, you spot an opportunity and come out with a business plan. Sacrifice cushy jobs, status symbols, recoup under a shed or a garage with only a business model to navigate. Your journey commences with a leap of fate. Toil and sweat make you hibernate. Persevere, endure, and create to realize your dreams, to pursue a vision. Is it a flight of fancy to launch creative disruptions, revolutions that change the course of human evolution, solutions that spur the wheels of civilization? Or is it a disastrous recipe where debits and credits fail to tally and assets cease to service liabilities? Notwithstanding the travesties in the balance sheet of life, You are a role model and a true deity, creator of jobs and livelihoods, cornerstone of the economy. But herein lies the real irony. While you immerse in a mission to make others' lives better, with flashes of value addition, and wipe off miseries of millions, would you find a lone shoulder to relate your insecurities and find some solace in the moments of solitude? No, the swelling riverbed is not your destiny. End of this journey is not the remedy. Be it a unicorn, a one-man army, or a failed entity, you live in my heart for eternity. Entrepreneur, may your tribe increase. Therein lies true happiness, prosperity, and peace. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start exactly from the place that we left, which is we were talking about hiring, about making collaborations. Yeah, I do find something, sorry. It's very interesting that, when people leave for a coffee break, they come back and sit in the exact same spot that they had sat in earlier. They don't need to. You didn't. You were sitting there. But that gentleman is back exactly where he was. Yes? And so, as a louder, why do you think that is? Sorry? Inertia. Inertia. Lovely word. Inertia. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Lots of reasons. I don't know the answer. I just asked. Yeah. So, we can figure it out. All right. So, we basically, what we did was, we did two types. One was public speaking, as in, communicating your idea to a group of strangers. I don't like that word very much, but nevertheless. And the second one was when you're looking for collaborators. Now, what we are going to do now is we are going to look at how do we pitch to a customer. And we are going to talk about B2B customers over here, right? As I'm sure you can tell by the slide. Please come. Please take the mic. Yeah, I think it's working. No, this one? Is this? Yes, yes, yes.
It's working.
Hi, yes. Please talk to us about your venture.
Hello all. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nanda, and I'm a founder of a cybersecurity startup called DigiSec 360.
DigiSec 360. Nanda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, talk to us, take us through, what is your background? How did you set it up?
Right.
Yeah, what made you set up something that is called DigiSec 360?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm a computer engineer with 1.5 decade of experience in software.
Yeah. The mic, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a computer engineer with 1.5 decade of experience in software. Almost a decade I worked on software project management, and I decided that I should start something of my own. And being a techie and being a software engineer, I thought technology is the biggest problem solver that for our society has. But when I looked at, I found that the side effect of technology is cybersecurity. Most of the softwares that we are using now in our smartphones, our computers, in fact, our day-to-day life, thousands of vulnerabilities are there in them, and hundreds of them are exploited by criminals. So one such incident led me to the cybercrime police station, where I lost my money for a banking fraud, and where I realized that there is a big gap in technology and awareness when it comes to fighting the cybercrimes. And after talking to the police, we collaborated with them. We developed a cybercrime monitor dashboard for them, which talks about what kinds of cybercrimes are happening, what is the tech medium being used, and what are the statistics. And they were devastating. Earlier there was no record of those numbers, but now there are. So do you know that in July itself in Bangalore, there were 1,333 cybercrimes reported in just 1 month. In Karnataka, so the volume of crimes is multifold. And India being not so secure nation, I cannot say that, but is second most vulnerable nation in the world when it comes to cybersecurity awareness.
Second, which is the most?
First one is USA.
USA.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 90% of the crimes can be prevented if people are aware of it, and human errors can be mitigated. So when it comes to the businesses, my customer segment is small and medium businesses. They are building businesses, awesome products, and lots of IP. They are building big teams, but the security angle is all the time missing. Nobody thinks about security when they build the businesses, and there is a reactive mindset when they came across the fraud, or when there is the data theft happening, insider threats happening. Then they realize the importance of cybersecurity. So at DigiSec 360, we are leveraging human element and technology to secure these businesses. And we provide continuous assessment and awareness to the companies. So that's what we do.
Nanda, I thought that was absolutely beautiful. I'm not sure that, I am what contribution I'm going to make to this, but it was wonderful. From your entrepreneurial journey perspective, where are you at on that curve?
So it's been 10 months. We have started DigiSec 360. We already have dozens of B2B customers. We are early stage revenue generating, and there is a demand because, as I told, you don't have to create a need. There is a need for cybersecurity solutions. The way technology is being used and exploited by criminals. So we are early stage, trying to establish ourselves, building the brand, and going on. It's a great learning experience because I'm the first time entrepreneur. Business is something which I never thought of doing, but I have been doing it over a year now, so it's a good learning.
Wow, wonderful. Now, obviously, your customers are only businesses, so you only do B2B pitching.
Right, yes.
Right? What is it that you have been telling them, like, till very recently?
Right.
What is your pitch normally to them?
So initially, so we start with the industry-specific instances or stories. Again, it comes to storytelling. So if it is a finance firm, we tell them about the financial frauds happening in other banks. And then we tell them how you can mitigate if something like this is happening in your company. So there are two aspects of cybersecurity, if you have to really think from the preventive mindset, is the assessment and awareness. Okay, so we pitch for that. And we tell them, okay, these incidents can be prevented if you take care of technology that we offer, and the assessment part as well as the awareness for your employees. The human element plays a very important role. The CEOs, CFOs, or even the IT managers, they should understand, basically we make them understand that human factor is also very important. You can use state-of-the-art antiviruses or malware, anti-malwares or endpoint security solutions, but if your IT manager is using admin and password as your password, it's not safe, right? So there are people, they think that technology will solve all the problems, but that is not the case. Human factor needs to be considered when it comes to adoption of technology. So that's how we start.
Lovely. Now, I'm going to just take 1 second away from you. And all of you who are, either in the process of a startup or working in sales or whatever else, it may be a good idea for you to actually spend some time and think about what is the pitch that you make.
Right.
To whoever your customer is, whether it's a business or it's in a B2C space, whichever space it might be in. If you can just think and, I don't know, maybe write it down if you feel, or write it down on your phone, or if not that, at least think it, and then see how it would be possible to change it a little bit, right? I think all of us need to make pitches at all points in time for one reason or another, because there's so many customers out there. Yeah. Now, please take that time. And what I will ask you, Nanda, is that when you go, who do you typically, in a business, who's the decision maker for you?
For us, because we cater to small and medium businesses, it is MD, CEOs, and CTOs. Yeah.
Okay, so it's the MD, CEO, and the CTO. It can't be anybody because, okay. Yeah,
they are the decision makers.
I get that. Okay, do you use a lot of data in your...
Yes, statistics plays very important role in our pitch, and as well as storytelling. So numbers talks,
Yeah.
So, and we being in a technology field, it helps convince them as well. So
yeah.
numbers are predominantly used.
All right. Now, just my take, if you feel now, you did mention that you'd lost money,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And you'd lost money on obviously some platform.
Yes.
So did you then stop being their customer after that?
No,
You
I did
continue
not.
to be their customer?
I actually, yes, I continue to be the customer, but I made my point heard, and of course, it was a technology issue, So, it was a very multinational big bank, and almost all financial institutions, they are on the radar of cyber criminals, right?
Correct.
So it can happen to anyone and anytime. So I got my money back, by the way.
You got your money back. So well done. No, you also understood the space.
Yes.
So, it helped you. For somebody like me, I wouldn't be able to navigate through the, the language that I will hear because I don't understand most of it. But from a storytelling perspective, if you actually started talking about the fact that at this point, the other person is the customer,
Right.
but you are a customer as well.
Right.
And as a customer, what did you feel when you actually were let down
Yes.
by that particular company who you had faith in when you
Right.
banked with them?
Right.
Right? And therefore, when a small, medium enterprise, when they let down their customer, what is it that one customer and therefore the word of mouth, what it's going to do for them? Because what people put in banks is money, in various
Right.
places, it's usually money that is being
Right.
taken away. And that is, it's, more than the fact that you lose money, you feel used.
Right.
Am I right? When somebody takes your money, you feel so let down. You feel like somebody is actually, it's a horrible feeling. It's beyond the money that it's money plus.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you could actually build that into your story,
Yeah.
do you think that would work?
Yeah. So
Do you want to try doing that? You want to do it right now and then see if everybody will
Yeah.
will buy?
Right. So the way we start is we tell them some example, which is a real life example of another business, and we tell them the consequences of cyber crime happening in that company, and that can be loss
Sorry.
of reputation.
It's better if she takes 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And thinks, yeah.
Yeah.
So my take, Nanda, is you've got to, the story needs to be yours.
Right.
So the fact that you had the financial fraud with you, what you felt as a customer,
Right.
that needs to be in your story now, right? Because at the end of the day, any business is successful when they have lots of satisfied customers.
Right.
Right? Unhappy customers, dissatisfied customers, cheated customers don't make for a good business. Right? So if you could spend 2 minutes and just think it and then make your story, which is your own story of you as a customer feeling like that, and therefore what they would go through if their customers were to feel the same.
Okay.
Right? So you can take 2-3 minutes and compose your thoughts. And similarly for everybody, if you can all come up with a story which is your own, for your own product. Some of you, a lot of people actually spoke to me during the break about sales pitches, right? It's not entrepreneurs, but these are people who work for somebody, but they're struggling with the sales pitch and they're not sure if their sales pitch is actually working. Yeah. So this might be a good time to actually put your thought on it and see if you can change it, empathetically putting yourself in the other person's shoes, right? With your own story, if you can do that. Yes? Can we all be quiet for 3 minutes, including me? Which for me is a challenge, but I will try. Yeah? Whenever you're ready. Yeah.
And we get some business.
Can you get a business here? Yes. Would somebody like to become a business person here? A role play? Yes, please. So full marks for initiative. So this is you're a media. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a first time seller. The customer usually thinks that I can practically
Again, so your story needs to wear the product pricing in its. I get you. I get what you're saying. Yes. So that I think would go across for everybody. It is don't do apologetic selling. Yeah, don't apologize for the fact that whatever it is that you're putting out there has a price tag to it, right? If you feel apologetic, then that's where we've lost the battle. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Okay,
So
guys,
let's deal
guys,
with this. I
take
think that
the-
may be a little outside.
Okay, Avinita, I think this 2 minutes, you write your stories about it. Coming to the pricing, I think we did a pricing for startups. We will be happy to do that again because this pricing is a science. As more of the science is there, okay, so that we will take it later. So take the next 2 minutes, write your story which you want to tell to the customers.
Let's stick with that. Yeah? Yeah?
You can write it on your mobiles or actually anything.
Yeah, you can write it on your
And
mobile.
at the end of it, if we have a time, we will call upon you. One of you guys actually you can pitch also.
I think we are
You are ready?
Excellent. Yeah, please
Okay,
come.
hi
What kind of
everyone.
a business are you?
So we are an edtech company. We work with students, basically the people who are the MBA students or the college graduates, and then make them business ready. You know, they are ready to take on the work environment much better than the theoretical perspective. So we bring in the industry perspectives to them, and we make them more employable than they were as of yesterday. So it becomes more of into a little bit of career planning. What do you want to do in future, and then take those impacts from the industry and then tell them that this is what you expect. Do you want to go in this field? Not. How do you want to change it? So coming to the point, the biggest problem which we can see is now we have huge databases of students, and suddenly the institutes have woken up to this identity theft.
And everybody wants that database.
Yes, and because this is the most lucrative data, because these are the millennials who are, it could fit into any profile.
Correct.
And the biggest challenge is protecting this data set from, because this is like, say like 5,000, 10,000 students data sets,
Yes.
which are very relevant, and they're like hungry to go kind of.
Got it. Yes, please, Nanda.
So thank you so much. You have made my job easy, more easy, because you understand the importance of cybersecurity. Most of the businesses, I'll have to convince them first why it is. But in this case,
So, your pitch.
Yeah. So education sector is one of the important and more vulnerable sector because of sheer volume of data. The student records, their personal identifying information, which is called as P2 information, is very, very juicy for the cyber hackers. So we can prevent that for your business. We can provide continuous assessment of your tech platform, and we can also help your employees who are the developers, to make practice cybersecurity while development. So DevSecOps can be bought, plus vulnerability assessment can be done, so that we can make your tech platform hack-proof. So that is what I can say. You have any other requirements apart from?
Yeah.
So-
So
Okay, go ahead.
okay, so this is a hypothetical thing, but I'm putting it for
Yeah.
all. So for example, a theft happens.
Yes.
And my
Yeah.
data gets leaked for an institution
Right.
of around 4,000
Right.
students. And because of the GDPR regulations,
Right, yeah. Compliance.
they now sue me.
Yes.
For example, how do if we have engaged,
Right.
how do we take this forward?
Yeah. So at DigiSec 360, we are your extended security team. We take care of your incidents response, compliance, as well as after the incidents, what needs to be done when it comes to the reputation loss, communication, and also prevention of legal lawsuits. So we provide those on a consultancy basis. So we will take care of that for you.
Yeah. So, okay. So you've actually solved his problem.
yeah.
Yes. But the story is actually something that needed to come out, which was actually talking about your story of the way you felt as a customer, where you felt cheated, so you understand how the people whose data was leaked would feel.
Right.
Right? And therefore the need to control it, and therefore his need to buy a product.
Actually, he made this job easy for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Right? So there is that whole, the story has to flow in a sequential way, right? Where you talk about what you felt and how you empathize with it, and then what the business needs to do, because the business there needs to put money out there, right? That they have to loosen their purse strings to put it out there so that the customer feels secure. That feeling is what, for the customer, is what the MSME needs to buy. Right? So that is what, so that is the story. If we can build, then maybe we will, be able to connect better with our customer. Right? Have all of you had a chance to sort of write down what you think, what you say to customers? Yes? No? Okay, I got one yes. Yeah, okay. Few more. Yes. So, would this story, would this link, do you think that would work? Do you think that is what will help, a business put money out there? Yes, please. Yeah. So can we do that after? Please, we can do it after. Yes? So Nanda, we need to actually bring down our own story. Because as I said, we tend to use a lot of features and we are very quick to solve the problem.
Yes.
Which is, your problem, let me solve it for you. But we don't know whether they're looking for the solution.
Okay.
So we have to first prime them, right? Just as we put a coat of paint, we have to first prime the wall or whatever surface it is. You have to first prime them to be willing to accept the solution. And that actually comes from a place of empathetic storytelling. Which is why, because you've had an example of your own, which is what started your journey, if you can bring it out and relate it to it, then we'd stand a better chance. Yes, please.
Vinita, just a point to add. So,
Yes.
for example, like while we were discussing, you mentioned about IIM being involved with you.
Yeah.
I think if you bring that point
Point,
up,
yeah. The
I'm
credentials.
sold because it's a
Because
branded
IIM has put
institution.
there, yes.
Yeah. So I think that relating the existing customers and then leveraging it could make a very like I'm sold before even you have started like in explaining.
Yeah, so as part of
Yes. Yes.
So my question is not exactly a question, but a point that I want to make is, as a customer, he may or may not really be wanting to know more about your story. What I have found is that I need to do the research into his area of work, and I want to understand what is he fearing about losing.
Yes.
What is his fear, or what would he lose out if he lost out? So my question to you would be, what are your top 3 fears about losing out? How can I help that is what I would backtrack with.
Right.
Talking about where I have lost money in the past, or my association with IIM would come in the second stage where I'm trying to build trust with you. Right now, my first question to you would be, my friend, what is your topmost 2 assets and how are you safeguarding them right now? And what do you think are predators in the outside business world who are eyeing those? And where I make that connection which makes you either salivate to pick up my product or try to understand what your own fears are. You might not even know that, I might be on the verge of losing it or there is a risk associated with that. So my job is to make you think first.
Absolutely.
And then walk back to where my own...
Yeah. Point taken. Thank you. Wonderful point. My only just one little add-on to that would be, spend a minute before that, before you look at a person and start asking them questions, what are your top 2 fears? You have to first build trust with them. If they don't, otherwise they have no reason to tell you what their fears are. Right? Fear is a deeply personal thing, whether it's a person or it's a company. I'm not interested in telling you because you've come, you're ready to buy, palm off whatever your product is. I'm not likely. So the first thing you have to do is be vulnerable yourself. The moment you're vulnerable is when the other person feels like dropping their guards down, and then you ask this question. So I would imagine a combination of the two. Right? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Most of the customer pitches are customized based
Yes.
on their requirements and the
Yes.
sector specific things.
Yes.
So the story changes, the pitch changes every
Pitch
time.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nanda.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the story. You underplayed it to, it's a storytelling session, right? It's a great story.
Yes, yeah.
It's very easy to appreciate.
If you are interested, I would like to add, I track down the criminal, and
No. Actually, you needed.
Yeah, and then,
yeah,
then
everybody
give the
needed
details
to
to the
feel.
bank.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Right. I understand. Hmm. Yeah. Right. More details.
That is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So more small, all details needs to be added.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Of my features, yes.
When the money was lost, you did not think about starting this company.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't think about cybercrime. That time your money is gone.
Yeah.
You think about the pain of it.
And you're enraged.
For the audience to understand.
Right.
You want to convert a customer for you.
Okay.
Every customer buys a story and not a product.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nanda. Thanks a lot.
If
Thank
I just
you.
may add, so
Yes.
when we do like this startup pitch writing things, and we do this like victim, experience, and expert. So and in the expert stage, we started off thinking of starting a company. So I think
Right.
like that's how it plays out, like victim. So
The story is yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Nanda. Thanks a lot. Yes. Sorry? We have to. I didn't get the verb before. Sell insecurity. Wow. Sell insecurity. Those are questions that I don't think a third person should be answering. Because at the end of the day, it's your insecurity. And you know what? If you're willing to sell it, you can, again, I wouldn't talk about selling a vulnerability. I would be willing to admit to a vulnerability. Yeah. Yes. Admit to a vulnerability makes you human, makes you capable of failing, and that's fine. But when you start to capitalize on it, a lot of other people are also in the business, please understand. And, purchasing victim stories is also something that people have sort of smartened up to. Yeah? So it's the human element. Please stay with that. And the moment we try to outsmart the system, sometimes we might outsmart ourselves. At least that's what I think. Yeah? All right. Okay. One more situation that, I thought that we could do is when, as a startup, we are talking to the media. Yeah? How many of us are actually talking to the media? The beauty about social media is it doesn't ask us anything. Nevertheless, we tell. Yes, so social media is this one-way street, but it is a very, very important thing because your messaging is what comes out. So yes, why not social media as well? And of course, aspirationally, we are all hoping to get to a place where there are people thronging around us, asking us questions, sticking, metaphorical mics into our faces, right? And that is every entrepreneur's dream, and why not, right? So yeah, call it what you will, but the media it is. And can I have Lakshmi, please? Here. Hi, Lakshmi Priya. Please come. Now, I'm going to have, Lakshmi will tell us what she does, but she runs an aggregator, basically. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lakshmi, and I'm from a firm called Adi Naturals. We are incubated here in NSR Cell, IMB. And let me begin with the story of a farmer which inspired us to be where we are here right now. So this is the story of a small farmer who's in Bellary, and this happened about 6 to 8 months ago. And about 8 months ago, there was a huge demand for millets in the market. And then we noticed that, hardly any millets were available when customers were contacting us. And we then realized that there were this set of traders in Tamil Nadu who had stocked up all the millets, and they had created this artificial crunch for the millets in the market. And they waited until the prices doubled. So to give you an example, one particular millet which was selling at say 130 was selling at 350 rupees at that point of time. And we were in this process of scouting for people who are growing millets, and we came across this farmer in Bellary that I was talking about. And when we were speaking to him, he told us, "Madam, I had this huge stock of millets, but then I didn't know where to sell it. There was no market, and millets is a very perishable thing. Once you mill it, it just hardly stays for a month." And he ended up discarding the whole lot. And that was a situation that kind of inspired us, thinking, why is this happening? Why are the traders dominating the market? Why can't the farmers directly market their products? And that's when we created this platform called Adi Naturals. We basically started out as a B2C company, and we had this set of dedicated customers, mostly in south of Bangalore. But then this incident is one which triggered, and we thought that we should be doing something for the farmers. And we have created this platform where we have onboarded, right now we have about 300 plus organic farmers belonging to different parts of the country, most of whom we have kind of dealt with. But then this is a long journey, and it's a very challenging one. And this also kind of reminds me of the starfish story that you just told us. So it's like a very tough thing. I may not be able to impact all the farmers, but then it's a journey that we have started, and at least a few farmers get impacted, and that will be a great thing for us. And I come from a tech background, so you must have heard of many stories of techies turning into organic farmers. So mine is one such. So I was completely into technology, and to me it's like anything you throw at me, I'll give you a solution using technology. So this is like a completely opposite of what I'm doing currently. And so we basically cater to B2B market. So we are connecting farmers, and farmers can put up their products, and it's a completely transparent platform that we have created. And bulk buyers come in, and they can just directly quote whatever the price they are looking for, and the quote request directly goes to the farmer. And so it's up to the farmer to decide, and we are just kind of enabling them to sell their products in a transparent and giving a wider market access and fairer price.
Which is beautiful,
so
wonderful. What a terrific idea. Yes. And what is your revenue model?
It's free for farmers to onboard, and right now we just charge about 10%, 8 to 10% of margin. So based on the transaction, and that goes, that we take from the buyers.
From the buyers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. If you had to speak to the media, or write on social media, because that is obviously the first step. Speaking to the media comes later. What is it that you would tell? And I would actually urge all of you as well to actually write it down, that, with your startup, what is it that the message that you want, to be amplified out there? What is it that you would tell them? Because obviously, given attention span, given how short it is, I don't know if people really read long posts or if people listen for a very long time. So what is it that you actually tell them, Lakshmi?
I have never spoken to media. We are still in
you could write it on a platform, right? Which could be social media, as everybody says, right? More accessible. Yeah.
So we are a first of a kind platform which, where we are trying to onboard organic farmers directly so that they get a wider market access. The government has done it before through ENAM, but it has not been so successful. And I know there are a lot of challenges, but then, we are trying to make the start of giving the farmers the prices they deserve. And then this year being a year of food safety. And so we are in the organic industry, so safe food for all is our mission. So that's what we are going with.
Okay, so you're saying that you would actually go out on media and talk about food safety for all?
Yeah.
Right, do you think that would resonate with people outside? Do you think the government has actually told all of us that it is indeed the year of food safety?
It is there in the media, but I'm not sure how many of us really know about it.
Yeah, how many of us actually resonate with it? Yeah, I'm not sure. But when you're talking to media, is basically what is the purpose? One has to be very sure, right? So spend some, sorry? So maybe we spend 2 minutes and we think about it. Everybody, if you can just think about what is it that you would write on social media, or if in the wonderful situation of media asking you actually, well, Times of India coming and asking you what you're doing, then pay the farmer and don't pay the doctor. So you're looking, you don't need to pay the doctor later. So you're saying that that's your line. Yeah, you giving her a catchphrase, is it? Okay, okay. Think what it could be. You know, could you actually talk about the impact of what you're doing? Because social media or media itself, I think there are two things we need to do. One, does it create enough buzz? Which is that, is it resonating with people, or is it giving them an idea that they're likely to resonate with? And of course, impact, because that's when people will share things, when they're sensing an impact. So do you think if you could build that, because there is a huge amount of impact in what you're doing, even though you are going starfish at a time, I'm thinking this is larger than starfish, right? I don't think this is starfish, this is more, yeah? So if you were to factor that in, think, and everybody, if you can also, sort of think what you would do.
So should it begin with the story, or
you should actually, maybe begin with the story of one particular farmer and how then you have scaled it up, and what you hope to do in the next, 2 years. Obviously, if it's a 10-year horizon, which it well might be, because this is a very worthy thing, but well, nobody has the patience to listen to that. So.
Okay.
Or you can talk about your own thing of that. You can talk about, you can talk about the fact that I believe that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but start with your own story of how building impact and how each one of us is actually responsible for building impact. And how then impact actually happens in, is it geometric or is it arithmetic? Which progression? Yeah, geometric progression, right? So that's the way that, we are going to have to position it. It needs to be positioned in a way that it is easy to absorb and then easy to pass on.
Okay.
Right? So start with your own story of one particular farmer. Give him a name. Make him human. Give him a name that, your interaction with so-and-so in such and such place. He was real, so make him real. Right? And what that has led you to do. And that put that on media. Do you want to try it? Or you can spend a little while to think. Yeah? Your win-win. Yeah. Yeah, so the fact that we are eating toxic food and create scare and fear in everybody. Yes, so that nobody wants to eat anything. I don't think let's leave toxicity out of it, because it's, you don't know what you're touching there. But, yeah.
But I think my interest area, if I may, would be for people like us who are actually the buyers, the question would be, how are you looking into the fact that whether it is real
genuine,
or
yes, yeah.
Is there any measurement index that you're following which says that the farmer is not using chemicals, because I'm concerned about my soil? I'm buying through your website because of that. So what is the credibility?
Yeah. So therefore the authenticity of your promise. Yeah?
The data or the
Yeah. Just hold on to your promise. Your promise needs to be, So do you think you'd be able to now? Do you want to try it, Lakshmi?
Yeah.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I'll begin with the story of farmer Siddhappa. So
yes, absolutely.
So he was a small millet farmer in Bellary, and he was not aware of the market demand for his particular product, because he lives in a very remote area. And when the traders were kind of, it's called a trader mafia. So they were hoarding up all the stock, and then they were selling it at double the price. And on the other hand, we have Siddhappa, who's not even able to sell his produce, and he had to, discard all the material that he had. So this is not just the story of one farmer. I'm sure this is the story of many farmers who are in our country. And we at Adi Naturals are trying to impact the lives of farmers by providing them direct market access through our platform, where they can put up their products directly and they can negotiate with the bulk buyers, who are interested in their produce, and we put up parameters based on their soil testing reports and the other due diligence which is done on our behalf for the farmer, and including the test reports if they are available. So the information is displayed about the farmer, his location, about his produce, and the bulk buyer also has all the details so that he can make an informed choice about the kind of product that he's buying. So we are trying to impact both the ways, wherein the farmer gets a wider market access, fairer price, and on the other hand, the bulk buyer or an end consumer is convinced that he's buying a genuine product on our platform.
Beautiful. The one thing I'll say is, you're not trying to impact, you are impacting. If you can just make that change, it shows that you're a lot more sure of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to put this up on your social media?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, my dear friends, what is called the elephant in the room. For a reason, right? So, the elephant in the room for a startup is always the investor. How do I get somebody to give me money? Yeah? I'm going to call upon Vandana Suri for that. And Vandana will talk about the work that she does. But before that, and this is my belief again, and you can completely discard my belief only because nobody has ever put money on me. So clearly, it's only coming from a place of great ideals without any success story at all. So feel free to discard what I say. But my take is simple. My take is that just as the investor is vetting you, you should vet the investor as well. Because if you don't, and if your vision is completely mismatched, because you're in a place of desperation and you need money for your operational or logistics or whatever other costs, then chances of your vision staying the way you had wanted it are negated. Right? This is just my two-piece coming from somebody, as I said, who has no success record. So yes, Vandana, please come. Hi, so Vandana, tell us about what you do.
I'll come to me later. There's a bigger problem we have to solve.
Excellent. That sounds like somebody who's done her homework.
Yes.
Yes, please.
So I'll first come to the trigger point. December 5, 2014, there was a rape in an Uber in Delhi. And this lady, there's a lady got raped. Yes, guys also get raped, but this lady got raped. And this lady actually put up a headline the next day that if there was a woman driving me, this would not have happened. And that changed life. For me, I thought it's time to change all of our lives as women. I, an investment banker, Vandana Suri, worked 26 years in various banks. I decided to become a cabbie, then there. So that 1 minute changed my life. Now, when I became a cabbie, I, as all of us women and families around here, was at the edge that who's going to make this change? So I said, okay, let's do this. The second problem that we as parents, all of us out here face is my child goes home, safe place, goes to school, other safe place. What happens in between? That's the unsafe place. And that's the vulnerability that I am putting my child into. So on one hand, there was women's safety, which was in our face. On the other hand was child sexual abuse. Reports tell us that 1 in every 2 children, 52% of our children face sexual abuse. So it's either my child or the neighbor's child. It's that close to all of us. And the effects of child sexual abuse don't stop there. They go on to all their relationships in their teens, they go on to their own family relationships, they go on to their kids. It's such a long epidemic. So how do we stop all this? The solution was, in my way, a practical solution, was having women drivers driving women and children. And that's what got founded into Taxi. Yeah? We're very, very less across the country. Across the country, in all, including me and 5 more companies, we must be just about 200 women on the road who've actually taken that stand to make things safe for people. It's a very big stand. Yes, we're very small. But I want to tell you that impact that we've created. Out of these 200, I have only 38 on the road right now. So I'm a baby, I'm a startup. I'm 4 years a startup only. I'm like 38. But I want to tell you what these 38 women have done. So I told you there's a vulnerable moment between home and school that we are tapping at. Today in Bangalore, we drive 600 children every single day to school. We've also started in Delhi. From the last 4 years, if I count the number of vulnerable moments which I have avoided or kept safe, we are at 1.2 million. With 38. And that is what is impact, I feel so good today that I'm actually priceless at this point of time. I'm seriously priceless.
I believe that, absolutely. I think a lot of us do. Yes, I'll take one moment away from you. No, I have a mic. For all of us, I think all of us somewhere keep playing an investor pitch at the back of our head. Am I right? Any one of us who has an idea wants to believe that it is precious and it is valuable to somebody who is looking to invest in a particular idea, right? So we are constantly playing an investor pitch. So if you can actually take some time to write down that investor pitch, and then we'll take it from there. Yes, all of us need to know what it sounds like to that person who is putting money in you because he believes that you will succeed so that he will make money. I don't know why I'm going on saying he. There is the lady there. Yes, what's her name? Christina, right? Laurie. See, I don't watch this enough. Yes, Laurie, absolutely. So that he or she can actually make a tidy sum of us, right? So please think about the investor pitch that you would make. And Vandana and I had discussed a pitch yesterday, and we did because obviously investor pitch is a tough one. It's hard to get money from somebody because you've got to elicit a great amount of trust in your ability to make money, not trust in you as a person alone. That is given, but the other part as well. Yes? Over to you, Vandana.
So I also want to tell you, being an investment banker, I've got people a lot of money, and here I struggle on my own. And I want to just tell you a little bit about the changes that I have made to my conversations to the investor, which is now showing up after a long time. So all our pitches also get refined over a period of time. So every time I go and pitch to an investor, he's always telling me, you're so small, Ola, Uber. Right? So I'm like one drop.
Taxi hai to Uber honi chahiye.
हाँ, taxi है तो Uber होनी चाहिए. So we changed, we refined, and we really thought about it. What is it that I'm actually selling to this person, to a client? I'm not selling a cab. There's so many other cabs. I'm more expensive. I'm 3 times the men, and I'm still sold out for the whole year. I'm sold out for the next 10 years. So what am I selling? I'm actually selling safety to the client. So why was I introducing myself as a woman cab? I still never said this in this entire conversation till now, but I don't want to sell. So now I sell on a different pitch. I say, I'm an alternate mom for you, keeping your kids safe. And that resonates with every parent out there, even as an investor. So suddenly I'm not a woman empowerment project. Guys always, you said, no, there are very few women out there. So guys always used to think that, oh God, another woman empowerment project is coming out of my ears. So we changed it. So now I was talking to a parent out there saying that, hey, listen, I'm an alternate mom taking kids to school, and that's why I'm priceless. I'm not an alternate cab. I'm not an alternate cab. I started talking like this to my customers. So the minute a corporate comes up and tells me, why don't you drive for us and whatever, I say, let's get this straight. I'm not an alternate cab. I'm going to be at a premium, take it or leave it. But then I talk with that attitude because I think that girl, that at that end for taking that stand needs to be remunerated higher if I have to encourage her. So I tell the client also, you need her. She doesn't need you. You need her. So you pay for what you need.
Okay, so and the fact that there is so much pride in the social change that Taxi is obviously making and wants to continue to make is actually a very, very large part of the way you will carry yourself to the investor, in front of the investor. But having said that, the investor has heard it as you don't have the numbers that you will never have the numbers that Uber will have, and what money will I make? And if I'm not going to make money, then I'll do my CSR, 2% to anyway dena and whatever, and that is what they're doing. So we had a little conversation, and would you like to? Where we thought that therefore what we are going to sell, because you need to sell something. What is it that you will sell, and what kind of an investor do you need? Because an investor who's looking to make a quick buck and get out in 6 months shouldn't be your investor in any case, right?
Yeah. So here is something where I want to pitch sustainability and value before profits. That, I think, is a very important pitch for us. 4 years. Yes, I'm in a difficult market. I'm in a market where even an Ola and an Uber have not survived with women drivers. And I'm here 4 years later in the green. So I have sustained, being bootstrapped, I have sustained myself. I have a demand. I have a client waiting list of 4,500, and I stopped counting about a year back. I literally stopped counting. The demand is huge. The idea now is, how do you scale up the numbers? Firstly, like I mentioned, my pricing is
building capacity to.
Yes, yes. So firstly, I also mentioned that my pricing is 3 times the men, and I'm all booked out in spite of it. The fact remains that 70% of this goes to this woman driver as an entrepreneur. Some of these women drivers have moved from an income of as low as maybe 10,000 bucks a month, and they are making 60,000 rupees a month. Much more than a lot of techies are making today. And this needs to go out there. So I need media, I need advertising cost, I need a software. So when I'm training women, so we train women from the underprivileged segments in driving. And boss, nobody learns driving in 10 hours. Whoever says this is all rubbish. Okay? It literally takes, if I'm going to commercially drive you, if I'm going to take you in my cab, will you sit with a new driver? Anybody will sit with a new driver here?
Yeah.
No chance. New driver is a no, it's a bad word. So I give her 6 months of hell training. Silkport Junction is my training zone.
I will clap, nevertheless, no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, it's hell.
But I shall clap.
So where there is hell, we are there. That is an obstacle course for us to be, going over. Now, when I'm doing a farmer's role out here. I'm not cutting the crop and giving you on the surface like an Ola, Uber. I'm actually putting it into the ground. I'm putting the seed. I'm watering it. I'm waiting for it to come and give you fruits. Because nobody else is doing it. The day somebody else decides, then we'll talk about aggregation models. But here, nobody's doing this. So here, I'm going to do this. So somebody who comes into my company has to be an impact person. You cannot be a realtor who comes at a 40% debenture pricing. That's not. I'm looking at extending this family to all our families. It's way beyond what money. If you think your money has to go, get invested, and really show you returns, this is where you are, because this is priceless. You don't get diamonds on the road. You have to dig deep. You have to remove those stones. You have to cut it. You have to sell it. And that's what we are. Thank you.
I'm going to make a little add to that, and I think that what this absolutely incredible startup that you have, Vandana, what it's doing is it is creating a very powerful community of trust, because these families who trust their children with you and are paying you a premium for that trust, that trust will not be limited within the confines of the car alone. They trust you to do things for them. And that is the hardest thing to get from a customer, right? Now, in the day and age of, well, Facebook, well, now it's like kind of not such a great word, but still, in the day and age of Facebook, I don't think we need to talk about the value of community to anybody, right? And mostly a community which is entirely based on tested and tried trust, which means that this community will be willing to buy many more things from you than just that confine of the taxi, which actually eliminates so much carpet bombing costs that people actually do for marketing. Imagine how precious you will become to other marketers a few years down the line. Why would an investor who has a slightly long gestation period not invest in you? And that's, I think, what your pitch needs to be.
Yeah.
What do you say? Do you think that would work?
Hey, you can tear me apart. I'm waiting here. I've come here to get torn apart right now from this.
Do you think an investor would actually purchase the community? Yes. Yes. And this is the hardest pitch we're talking about, right? We are talking about these people.
So they asked me what they wanted me to pitch for, and I said very happily to the strangers. And then they said, "Hello, you've already done this." God knows how many. So I said, "Okay, I take the challenge. I will do the investor one."
Sorry.
Okay, that's a good question.
It's a valid
So
question.
I started this company 4 years back, at it's just 1 lakh. Yeah? We are bootstrapped. We brought about 70 lakhs into the company. I'm 4 years. I'm at 38 girls and 1.2 million risks averted. And today my valuation, as per whatever valuation standards are there, what I'm pitching at in the market is 70 crores.
So there you are.
Yeah. So we do work on a 30% margin, but today is a valuation game. Absolutely. 30% is not enough for anybody right now. Just not enough.
Yeah. And one more thing I'd like to say is that, the women empowerment piece, which is a very large piece, which we are completely sort of, putting under the carpet. We shouldn't, because how many ideas will have that as a natural byproduct? And therefore, the investor that you needs to be an investor who can look upon social impact as something that he or she is interested in. You don't want that investor who's going to come in and really cash out in 12 months. That you must reject the person just the way J.K. Rowling rejects everybody else, only Bloomsbury for
So
her.
as an example, I will tell you, we got an investor for 7 crores about 3 years back at a 50% stake. The check on my table, literally, a realtor guy, and we gave it back. We literally
Fabulous.
just gave it back.
And more power to you.
Yes.
This is another thing.
That's what.
Yes.
And it is like they're contributing to the safety of the women folk and the girls, right?
Yeah, what a brilliant byproduct. Just like Adi Natural. Look at the byproducts here. They're brilliant, your byproducts, and they can't be mentioned enough, yet the investor is not going to purchase the byproduct.
Yes. 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 Yes.
How to ensure I don't feel left out or cheated when you get on the valuation game, because somebody who said like 50%, tomorrow when you talk about the valuation game, that person might want to buy you out or increase the stake in some way or the other.
Mhm.
Then you could be a takeover initiative, to take the benefits in the byproduct. So as an investor now, in future, how would you protect?
Okay, that is not nothing related to the storytelling.
Storytelling,
Okay,
yes.
so let's actually.
Now you're grilling her.
Yeah. So okay, let's keep.
I called for it.
Let's keep your actually the investing and what do you say, valuation, all those ESOPs, equity, and everything separately. Okay. So we have done the equity for startups. We have done the valuations for startups. We will do it again. So you can bring those questions during the valuations and everything. Okay. That's actually not the right one actually. Okay.
Just had one question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Like as you said that this thing came out when you saw that incident.
Yes.
So basically, that incident was a flaw of the product or was the flaw of mentality. So for example, now you are like your like customers are women and children.
Yes.
So this is based on the presumption then women are safer than men.
Yes.
So basically now like if we think then we are creating a service like particularly for men and this service particularly for children and women.
Yeah.
So in the future like if a male customer you start catering to male customer, so is this like a not like a man is then a man
Got it,
will be
got
a
Man is unsafe.
so basically our as a
Sorry guys, I can't help it. Okay, you must be a bunch of safe guys and there are a whole lot of unsafe guys and everybody's reputation is ruined right now. Sorry about this.
So basically are we moving to that phase like if in the future maybe if
Yeah.
women are becomes unsafe then for our children like children driving cars for children.
Okay. What's your?
That's a fabulous discussion point.
So I tell my 16-year-old son that he will soon be fighting for men's rights. I'm training him. I'm training the next generation
No,
there
it's just
also.
like as a
So, okay,
entrepreneur.
guys. What's
Yes.
Did you get that? So.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's come back. Actually, what's the question about the storytelling? Which part of the story you want actually?
No, like
I
for the based on storytelling, my point is
I
like
think you're challenging the product
no,
itself.
my story like I am like whenever we are telling a story or something.
So are you an investor or are you actually this?
No, as an investor.
Okay, as an investor, what you are not got connected there?
Got connect like. Is this like as an interpreter should we promote like as I should promote a propaganda in the society which might impact me in the future?
So I have one question. As an investor, do you mind actually irrespective of the propaganda? Will you invest only in the valuation or you will invest in the what is the growth purpose?
No, for growth purpose like in the
So
future.
will this company will grow?
Yes.
Yeah. If the company grows, will you invest?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
for the business. That's
Then actually you don't worry about the propagandas. Okay.
Thank you, Vandana. Thank you so much. That was really useful.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a couple of minutes for the a quick this thing. So what we can do is exactly we have 4 minutes or 5 minutes. Either we can do the quick Q&A, or if you have somebody is ready with especially the customer story which you have written right now, we want to come and tell you can come and tell the customer story, but it has to be exactly 2 minutes story. Yes.
Please come.
Is it for the customer or the investor? Yes.
Please come.
Yeah, just a story, just customer. You're treating all of them as a customers with inputs which is given by Vinita. Just pitch your story.
74 kg of weight, and I'm a newborn mother. Okay, I'm just.
Don't worry.
It's okay.
You want water?
Go ahead. You want water?
You can drink water. Yep.
No, I'm fine.
Pani.
Guys, it's not easy. Please get that actually.
I'm signing up.
Okay. 74 kg of weight. I'm a newly born mother, and my wardrobe sucks. And that's where my story starts. That, when you look at Kareena Kapoor, you realize that within few weeks, she just loses her weight. And being a person who doesn't have access to all those nutritionists and dietitians, how do I lose? I know that people say that it's okay, body shaming and all that is there, and you should not talk about it, you should feel good, but somewhere inside it pinches that I'm still fat and I want to lose weight. And that's where my story started. I started eating right and lost 25 kg of weight, and I'm now 52 kg, which is less than my college weight. I can fit into my college jeans. And that's where I started this venture called as Cook Clean, which actually talks about eating right and then you lose weight. You don't have to eat less. and no gymming is required, just 30 minutes of walk. What I have done from past 3 years, and this is what I am. So I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a dietitian, I'm just a mom, and I'm making an impact with all the mothers out there who are trying to lose weight. चाहे आप कितना भी बोलो नहीं हमें फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता है ये वो फ़र्क पड़ता है. So when you lose weight, you really feel good. And now my mom says I look like Kareena Kapoor and I feel very good about it. Thank you.
Fantastic.
So now all the customers, men and women who are looking to lose weight by eating, you can join my Facebook group called Cook Clean. It stands for KUK Clean, CLEAN, which is basically Kitchen You and Kirti. In my kitchen, I'll teach you how to eat right and lose weight.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was lovely.
Okay, how many of you want to be her customers? Okay, please take that.
There you are.
That's a perfect story, perfect pitching. Only thing. Okay, it's fantastic. Anybody else? Okay. No, it's okay. Okay, guys. The gaining weight we will call that later. So thank you. Yeah. So yes, somebody yes come. Fit dog actually, please. Rahul, please. So you're pitching to the investor, or you're pitching to the
customer?
Customer. Okay, you're pitching to the customer. Fantastic.
I just became a customer also.
Huh?
I just became a customer.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, I think you have to pay to the NSSL. Some royalty you have to pay to the NSSL. Doesn't irrespective of it. Okay.
Please go ahead. Sorry, is it not? It is.
It is. Thanks. Now we all are entrepreneurs here, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. That means I have failed once, and the reason why I failed once is because I loved my child too much, and that is one of the problems that most of us face. Irrespective of the kind of business we are in, we believe what we have created is great. We believe that we are smart. We understand the market, we understand the customer and everything. And most of this decision we make is based on gut feeling. And that's what I did with my last product. We created something, we felt it is great, it is going to change the world. But we never bothered to see how it is actually doing in the market. So there was no analysis for, for product market fit. And that is one of the problems. So somebody told me that, why don't you use Google Analytics? So I said, okay. So we put Google Analytics. It told me a bunch of numbers, which does not make any sense to me. We still went on doing the same things that we were doing earlier, seeing the impact with reducing customers every time. And eventually I had to shut down. That got me thinking like why it happened with so many technology products out there, why I was not able to understand where my product is going, how my customers are using it and all. So eventually we started another company called Fibotalk. And here we thought that why don't we solve this particular problem, that how do I fit my product into the market, or is my product fitting the market? So we thought that, okay, let's have some genius analytics. We tried some of the standard stuff, which did not work out. And then, something struck us, and that was that, nobody really knows things very well. So we thought that, okay, default is what everyone understands. So we are working on building great defaults. That means that you clearly understand what features are working, when products are getting used, not getting used, get early signs, so that you can keep changing. And past 1.5 years, we kept on using the same product to change ourselves. And today we have over 400 signups and 5 paying customers. That happened in the last 5 months. So
Rahul, your time is up.
Yes.
Okay. Your time is up. How many of you actually got what exactly his product does in the story? Fantastic.
Nobody.
Okay.
That's great.
Nobody. Okay.
That's
so
great.
you need to work with Vinita, get those whatever the questions he has mentioned about the customers. You have to write down the answers for that. How many of you actually felt that actually his first part of the story, his failed one, has taken a lot of time in the story? Okay.
All right.
Fantastic. So you need to work on your story to get it. So out of 400 sign up, it gets to five people. It means there's a lot of scope for improvement. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else want to pitch for the investor or the anything else? Strangers. Okay, what do you want to pitch for? Okay, so last one. Can we take the last two? How much time we have? Can we go up to the 1:15? Is that okay with all your listening? Yep. Okay, exactly 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
मेरा एक छोटा बिजनेस है, कपड़े का बिजनेस. I have a small company, a garment company. I'm running like every day, like 10 customers are coming in and going in.
Static from somewhere, no? Yes. Yeah.
So this customer, 10 customers are coming up. Now, what is happening is I want to grow my business. I have so much of money, but online marketing, yeah, offline marketing, it's so painful. How much ever I spend, it is so complicated. But one thing is there. I know that if my customer starts talking for me, it is such a big marketing. But how do I tell my customers that if they please talk for me? And being a customer of that company also, I feel it, I can talk for him, but unfortunately, what's in it there for me? There is a huge shy feeling, and that's where I, as an entrepreneur, I came up with a technology where I make the person, if you are available in Friendly app, I will send customers to you so that you can pay a special discount for him and same discount will come to me, and that's Friendly app. Now, marketing is absolutely free and each and every customers would love to send you another customer so that indirectly he becomes a channel partner for you. That's Friendly app and it's absolutely free. No online marketing or offline marketing. 92% of the conversion rate conversions happens because of word of mouth, and now you can gamify your business's word of mouth marketing. Thank you.
Okay, guys, how was the pitch? Actually, how many of you want to try Friendly app? Good. Okay. Hey, it's good actually. So, Vinita, do you want to give any inputs for the story?
Yeah.
It's more like the story is
in the sense that, see, that there was impact. So, there's nothing that I can say that is over and above impact. But definitely the beginning part, maybe instead of, because you're pitching to the customer, right?
B2B it was.
Yeah. It was a B2B customer, yeah. I think that beginning part, that could have been toned down a little bit, just to make it a little sort of more cerebral, probably. But that's about it. But it made impact, so that worked well.
Thank you.
So well done.
Okay. In a short note, Friendly app without space, it's available in Google Play. Thank you.
Okay.
Another short note, now that we have the IIM Bangalore stage, let's sell.
Yeah, just come down then. So this one, next one, and the last one. That's it. Actually, we will just close it. But make it short. You have only 1.5 minutes.
Sure. Hi everyone. Let me skip my introduction. Let me come to the point where I have come from the background where my father is a farmer and later on he turned to be an businessman, which is purely an unorganized sector. Every day he was struggling, though he was earning lakhs, sometimes even crores, he was struggling to manage the finances. And I'm the first graduate in entire my family and even in the community itself. And then I used to analyze each and everything, what he was doing, why he is struggling, though he is earning lakhs and crores together. Every day if he wants to start something, he was telling that I don't have money. And then I analyzed what is the reason, and I just started talking to him in my childhood itself. And he was telling the problem of the money, he don't have any track of what he is earning. Then I thought of doing something for that. And I got some mentored and I chose some courses, and among that I chose chartered accountancy course. And now I'm a chartered accountant, and I organized my father's finances initially, even before becoming chartered accountant. And I realized there are many people who are not educated, but still they are earning more money. And there are certain category of people who are more educated.
Yeah, time is up actually. You have taken this thing. Okay, how many of you actually, so it clearly appears to me that you are not written what actually you're supposed to speak. Okay, that's what it's appeared to me. Do you guys agree with it? Yeah, so please actually, okay. So I think you need to work on your story.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I hope you are
Your
written
first
what
story
actually.
can be said in 2 sentences. When you said it in about 12, 15 sentences, it needs to be said in 2.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah.
Thank you.
I hope actually you are written what's been told actually. Yep.
I'll just say one thing. 45 seconds is the time you have to get the person's attention.
Fantastic.
Right? And then?
Hi everyone. I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So my name is Manish, and I have been helping entrepreneurs and the startup for the past 4 years to build their product and reach out to the end-to-end customer. So I have come up with the one big challenges to development of the software, where 60 to 70% of the software development fail. Then I came up with the idea, and when I talk to client, I first try to pitch out to them to not to go for the full-fledged development of your product, rather than you try to do a workshop where you spend your 10% amount of the total investment, and you do your product workshop with your client, and try to figure it out how the workshop is happening for your product, and see how your requirement is getting fridged, how your UX and UI designing and the business flows is done by that company, and you feel pretty confident that that company is going to deliver you 100% successful product, then you choose that company and go for the 100% investment.
Okay.
So first,
okay, your time is up. I strongly feel there is no story there. You're just talking about actually what your company does. Okay, which is, how many of you see that is there any personal story there? How many of you got connected to this thing offering? Okay. So thank you very much. You need to work on the story. Please write it down, I think. Okay, with that note, we already reached the time. Okay, let's close this up actually. So no, sorry, actually, unfortunately, can you just do it personally to her? Okay.
Cool.
Okay, fantastic. But you like it or not, actually each story will have a hero and villain actually. Okay, so you need to create a story about that. Okay, so anyway, with that note, actually we will, I would like to conclude this. Actually, we don't have any memento for the Vinita. What we have is a big round of standing applause. And thank you, Vinita, for taking your time.
Thank you very much.
So it was such a, yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm actually clapping as much for all of us here. Thank you to NSR Cell for actually, putting their faith on me and leaving me, giving me the stage and saying, okay, do what you want, which I think is a huge leap of faith, and thank you very much for that.
Yep.
And the fact that I had a wonderful time. So I hope all of you felt that, and that you go away as enriched or somewhat enriched, as much as I have. So thank you very much.
Okay, so our next one is actually on September 19th. Actually, it is a sales theater workshop for startups. In case you want to get your, now you got the pitch right, the story right, but it's how do you enact the story is what actually is going to be, especially for the sales. That's actually Dr. Rajeshri, who is from a You and Me Theater, will be taking us. So it's on a Thursday, September 19th, actually. Naveen will send you this thing. Okay, guys, have a great weekend. Thank you very much.